Up next on End of the Day Beer Review, we're going to be looking at Cape May Brewing Company's From Cliffs to Capes. This is an Irish-style dry stout coming in at 4.2% ABV. Check it out. Hi everybody, it's Rich and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be looking at an offering from Cape May Brewing Company down in Cape May, New Jersey. This is one of my favorite breweries because of their honey porter, but I always like looking at what else they have to offer. Now, Cape May Brewing Company does actually distribute in a lot of New Jersey, so if you're in the Jersey area, you might actually be able to get this if it turns out to be good. Now, this does say that from the Cliffs of Moher to our little town of Cape May, this dry Irish stout is one you'll want to drink again and again. Brewed with Maris Otter malt, English Fuggle hops, this roasty, full-bodied, and invigorating brew offers notes of coffee and dark chocolate with a toffee-like sweetness. Cheers to tradition and celebrate in every sip, Sláinte, which I do have my Sláinte sign back there. It's probably off camera. So I'm expecting sort of Cape May Brewing Company's riff on a Guinness, if you will. Now, it's not a nitro stout, I know that. But, you know, we are looking at an Irish stout, which always, to me, makes me think Guinness. So let's give it a pour. We are using the proper glassware. And it pours a sort of a light brown. I would have expected it to be just a little bit darker. Good amount of carbonation. Now, I am pouring a little hard, I gotta admit. And right now I got like 3 fingers ahead, which is way too much. So I'm probably gonna give it just a minute or two to settle before I go in for that nose. Now, Cape May Brewing Company has a rather large presence. Well, not large, but it's a good sized brewery. You go in for a tour, you can, you know, drink the beers and you can bring food in. Very typical of a Long Island brewery, but they do, over the course of the year, offer a lot of different stuff. Now, I found this one interesting because I had spent some time in Ireland recently, and quite frankly, what sold me was the can art, which is sort of like the abstract painting of the Cliffs of Moher, which I thought were gorgeous. All right, let's see what the nose is like, and I have clearly over poured that head. Now, what I'm getting is all roast. A good amount of coffee, a good amount of that roastiness that I would sort of associate with a Guinness, to be honest. Yeah, it's almost like you definitely get sort of a, I don't want to say burnt sugar, but it is sort of that caramelized aroma coming off of this. I think it's more molasses that I'm getting. All right, you know what? The nose, like I said, roasty, sort of coffee-ish, sort of molasses-ish. Let's see what it tastes like. That's an interesting beer. Okay, so let's see. On the dominant flavor that I'm getting is coffee, and I know I'm pouring this like a savage. And the coffee is right up front. There's a nice roasted sort of coffee flavor that hits you front to mid tongue. As it continues down, there's a little bit of almost hoppy bitterness on the back end of this that you don't get in a Guinness. In fact, it's almost like a, you know, there's that bitterness here that's a little bit over the top, not over the top. It's a little more than I was expecting. It's completely good and it balances it nicely. It's sort of like that bitterness that a nice cup of coffee leaves in the back of your mouth. Really nice mouthfeel on this beer. Very light, very easy to drink. The carbonation is just right as it hits the back of your mouth. It sort of loosens up. sort of that roasted flavor through your, through your olfactory senses. So you get a good full-bodied flavor out of this. Personally, I think the bitterness is sort of taking me back a little bit, taking me away from completely loving this beer. The front end on this is great. A good coffee flavor, a good, interesting roast flavor to it, a little hint of chocolate. But you know what? Like, the bitterness, the more I drink, the more the bitterness seems to build, and that I don't care for. I feel like it's overly bitter, and that's not what I'm looking, overly bitter, excuse me, and that's not what I'm looking for when I'm looking for an Irish stout, or any stout really. I'm not looking for that bitterness. I'm looking for more for that roastiness, that comes with that sort of malt flavor. I thought this was going to be much more coffee and caramel, but I'm not really getting, not caramel, almost molasses. But again, even though I'm getting that on the front end, on the back end, I think the bitterness is a little bit too much. Now, would I buy it again? You know, I am an enormous fan of a lot of the beers that Cape May Brewing Company puts out. I mean, their honey porter is excellent. Their breakfast coffee stout is excellent. I like their Oktoberfest a great deal. So there's a lot of beers that they put out that I really, really like. And when they come out, I will take the hour-and-a-half drive and I will pick up, if it's at all possible. Not hour-and-a-half, 3-hour drive, if it's at all possible. Would I drive to Cape May, New Jersey from where I live in New York for this particular beer? I wouldn't. Would I try it if I was there? Yeah. If it was on tap somewhere, when you see it out there, it's worth giving it a try. And quite frankly, if you like more hoppiness, a little more bitterness on the back end, this might be your exact beer. For me, I feel like the bitterness sort of ruins it for me. So I will say this, when I say ruins it, I'm gonna finish this beer. This is not gonna get dumped. But at the same time, is it my favorite of the Cape May Brewing Company offerings? No, it's really not. It's good. Is it good or is it okay? It's really more okay. It's not one, like if there was a honey porter or their Oktoberfest available, I would go for either of those versus this. And that's really because of all of that back end bitterness that's even now just sort of stuck on the back of my tongue. Anyway, folks, hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe. If you have a comment, I'd love to hear it. And I will see you next time here at End of the Day Beer Review. Cheers.